Hello and welcome to Mayhem with your host, Mamie.
This one today goes out to my daughter. Cindo, you are one of the bravest people I know. You take these great big huge steps and these big leaps into the unknown, and you do it without shutting your eyes or holding your breath. That alone is the most beautiful thing in the world, and I want you someday when you can to hear my message and to understand what I'm trying to tell you. I want to talk today about femininity and how it's just a construct. Society has these ideals and opinions of what a woman should look like. They should be feminine, they should wear dresses, they should be modest, they should have long hair, they should be caretakers and be nurturing and cook you dinner and clean the house, and the epitome of what a woman is a 50s housewife. And I'm sorry, but that's complete and total bullshit. Women are just as diverse and colorful and amazing as men are. And it is true that one of the major themes of womanhood in today society, and that has been for a very long time, is hair and the length of hair and how long your hair is and how pretty it is and how you curl it and how you do this and how you do that, or if you wear makeup or if you do this. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I don't appreciate it. I've been reading a book. I read a chapter this morning by Rachel Held Evans where she talks about modesty. And she actually wore peasant skirt and a long sweater that was buttoned up to her chin and a hat for a solid month. And she said she felt frumpy and she felt gross. And she did not feel very feminine at all. And that's wearing the feminine ideal. When I was younger, my friend... Before I had kids, my friend had a daughter, and when she was about 5 or 6, I was wearing a tank top. It wasn't an inappropriate tank top. It was just, I had no sleeves on. And she looked at me. She was like 4, and her daughter looked at me, and she's like, "You're not being very modest." And she had picked up that word from church. And for a 4-year-old to know that word, that kind of set me for a loop. And then recently, coming out of the closet and becoming and discovering who I am and, the queerness that is my identity, it's been challenging and it's been difficult because I've had to butt up against this idea of femininity all the time. I cut off my hair a year ago because I had long hair that went halfway down my back, and I put it in a ponytail, and that was it. That's all I did with it. And I could do a nice professional bun, but that was about it. And it just, when I cut it off, the relief in cutting my hair off was palpable. It was like I was releasing all of these ideals and emotions and everything. And since then, in the past year, I have gone shorter and shorter and shorter. And then in the past week, Sindel has been talking about shaving her hair, shaving it all off. And I said I'd do it because she wanted me to do it with her. And it wasn't even something that I really had to think about. It was just like, you want that? Okay, I'll do that. That's fine with me. Because I heard somewhere in some podcast or something that every woman should shave her hair off at least once. And in doing so, it brings up ideas of femininity and confidence, and it kind of makes you question your whole identity and who you are and how you want to be portrayed in this world. And everybody has comfort levels. And the most challenging thing for a person to do is to take this stereotype that they have grown up with, this stereotype that your parents teach you, the stereotype that society teaches you, the stereotype of what you see women as your whole life, Sometimes it's size 0, sometimes it's hair, sometimes it's a beautifully made up face. But all of these ideals that society and your parents and your culture and your religion breathes into you, and you have to butt up against that and be like, I understand that this is what you think a feminine person is, but am I really like that? Do I really want that for me? And it's challenging, and it questions your roots, it questions your heart, and it questions your ideals, and it questions everything. And down to the point of, androgyny and everything else, and you're like, okay, how androgynous do I want to be? I have tried off and on my entire life to put on makeup. My dad told me when I was 18 years old, he said, I'm going to buy you makeup if you take this class to teach you how to wear it. I took the class, I got the makeup, I wore it for maybe a month or 2, and then I stopped. And most of my life, I just have not worn makeup, just because it didn't feel right. When I had it on, I felt smothered. I felt like I was covering up who I am, even though my skin isn't the best, and I have dark spots. I couldn't hide it because it felt smothering. And I think sometime to some point, my hair kind of felt like that too. And so now is the time for me to really be like, okay, I'm going to play with my look, and I'm going to play with how I look, because I know that people are going to have their opinions, and people are going to say things, and people are going to do things. But you know what? What those people do is not my business, and it's not my concern. I know that with my shaved hair, if I went and I saw my mom and my stepdad right now, they would cringe. They would cringe, they would back away, they wouldn't like it. They would be like, that's not very pretty, that's not very appealing. But you know what? That's not my business, nor is it my concern. Nor is it something that I should really care about, because I don't mind it. I look in the mirror and, I notice my eyes, and I notice my nose, and I notice my cheekbones. I don't notice the hair. And I think that that's what I want for Sindel too, because she is struggling, as people do. When you make that big of a change, you struggle, and then you have to come to terms with it, and then you have to come to terms with who you are with that haircut, and that you haven't changed. And cutting your hair does bring a lot of stereotypes to the front of your mind, and it's a scary, scary thing. And I understand what she's going through, and I understand that she's going to have to buckle up and get some confidence in herself and be able to be like, I am beautiful, I am feminine, I am a warrior, and who cares what anybody else thinks. And I gotta say, for a preteen girl, that is the number one hardest thing you can do. Because at that age, you just want everybody to like you, and you just want to fit in with the crowd. And when you do anything that makes you stand out of the crowd, all of a sudden, you feel the shame, and you feel the guilt, and you feel the fear. And none of those are easy feelings to walk through, and none of those are easy feelings to have. And so the next few weeks are going to be a struggle for her. But as her mother, and as somebody who did the same thing at the same time that she did, my job now is to emulate how to be. My job now is to show her the confidence and the strength and the femininity that she has too. And to be a person that she can look up to and be like, wow, she's really confident and she doesn't have any hair. So that's my goal, I guess, for the next week or two, is to have the confidence and to have the femininity and to still be beautiful regardless of how my hair looks. Because you know what? I like my hair. I like that I can put gel in my hair and make it all spiky. And I can wake up and walk out the door and be fine. And that ease of living really makes me happy. Because I don't wear makeup. So now I don't have any hair to worry about either. Easy peasy in a story. But I think that society is not going to change. I'm reading a book called The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And in this book, Evelyn has a love affair with a woman. and it's in the 50s, and she can't come out and be open with it. We also watched a documentary called A Secret Love. Same thing. They had to tear off the bottom of their love letters because they couldn't let society find out who they loved. And all of those things have changed. I mean, Evelyn Hugo could still be super famous and have her love now. She couldn't then. And that is society stepping forward. That is society moving forward and being better and being a little bit more open. Even though it's, toddler, baby steps, we still fall. Society still falls. We're not completely open. We can't completely do everything we want, but we're more open now than we were then. And there's a possibility that things could be great. And that's more than they had in the 50s. And I think hair and femininity and these ideals of femininity versus masculinity are also being put into question. And they're also being, people like Jonathan Van Ness, who has this long, gorgeous hair. He has this full beard, and then he wears heels on the red carpet. It's beautiful. It's amazing, and I love it. And we need more people like Jonathan Van Ness out there. We need more people who are androgynous and who say, screw gender lines, screw gender roles. I'm going to do what I want. And I think the more people can come out and do that, I think the more healthy having a 12-year-old who decides to shave her head, having her look towards the future can be. So that's my TED Talk today, is femininity is a construct, and just be open-minded and kind. The book I want to talk about today is called Magic for Liars. It's by Sarah Gainey. I'm not going to talk about the actual story because it's a murder mystery at the end of the day, and it's really good. But what happens is there's this woman, she's a private investigator, and she lives a normal life in normal society, as we know it. But the thing about it is, her sister is a magician and is a teacher at a magic school. And nobody else in normal society knows about this magic school. But it's a big part of her life. So how does a person who has this twin sister who's magic and she's not magic, but she knows about magic, so her sister is special and she's not special, what does that do to a person? And how does that change and create who they are? And one of the beautiful things about this book is the main character is not perfect. There are times where she makes choices that are like, what are you doing? There are times where she does things where you're like, well, that was smart, wasn't it? But it's also a story about how she comes to terms with her estranged sister, who she loved and who she had so much of a history with. But then they went their separate ways because one couldn't handle the other and vice versa. And so it's kind of a story about them and how they come together and how they work with each other. And it's really beautiful. But it kind of has to do with how to accept yourself and how to accept society as it is and how to understand your place in society. So, yep, that's my story today. And again, Cindo, you're the bravest person I know, hands down. You take life by the throat and you throttle it to your heart's content, and then you walk away. And it's beautiful, and I am so incredibly proud of you, and I think you're amazing, and I think you're beautiful, and I think that the world sees you as beautiful too. So the only person who needs to accept it is you, and you're the most important person. So I'm here for you, and I love you, and I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you.